That's where we as an agent can come in and add value. My biggest tip that I can give anybody here is just...
So the big question is, what are top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? To get the answers, we interview the top real estate agents to learn their secrets to success. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Elite Agent Secrets show. Today we've got Joe Yost with us. He's been in real estate for around about 20 years. And in his last year, he did 350 units as a team, $85 million. Right now, he's got a smaller team of 6 or 7 people, and he is really hitting like a motherfucking freight train out there in Pittsburgh. So today we're going to be discussing his top 3 secrets for success. Number 2, you guys are going to want to wait for because, listen, I know what you're all going through. We all know what you're going through. Number 2, he's going to be breaking down how the hell he is getting all his deals in this crazy market. So, Joe, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks.
How you doing?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited, man. With an intro like that, holy man, I'm nervous now.
This is great. We're going to ruffle some feathers. Pittsburgh, are you a Steelers fan?
Heck yeah, man.
See, I'm from Philly, so we're Eagles.
You know what? These are things we need to talk about before
the show.
Yeah.
I purposely left it until we started recording to keep you on your toes since you said you were nervous. So keep in mind, fly Eagles fly.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we have time for it, but I actually have a great Eagles connection, and a lot of the Steelers that would come from the area, I would connect with. A great long time, Reggie Wilkes. He was an Eagle way back in the day. And he's a financial planner, and he gets some of the draft picks. So when they come to Pittsburgh, they come my way. So I could take it. I could take it a little bit.
There you go. We know the plug. But before all the glory and before you started slaying deals and you had connections with the Eagles and the Pittsburgh, give us a little bit of context about how you started. Take us back to day one, because you've been in the business when we were chatting for over 20 plus years. But you also have a little bit of a unique background because you come from the lending side at the same time.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of context.
So interestingly enough, I mean, real estate was never, ever on the radar for me. My wife and I, at a young age, we wanted to get out of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh wasn't the coolest place to be. It has come full circle, and it's really awesome now. But we went out to Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona back in early 2000. And I kind of tripped into the mortgage industry, and you guys are young. I find myself getting older, but that was a crazy time for real estate.
I'll take that compliment. I will take that compliment. Thank you.
It was the whole country was kind of wild. I mean, if you had a pulse, they gave you $1 million mortgage, and so I was kind of in that, learned that side of it, which I'm forever grateful because it kind of still helps me. And even 20 years later, the lending side hasn't changed that much, which is kind of cool. But what happened is, if you guys recall or heard about it, the market just collapsed. And Arizona happened to be one of the worst places hit in the whole entire country. So found myself not doing any mortgages whatsoever. I mean, nobody was buying, nobody was selling. Refinances were a thing of the past. So ended up doing what most people wouldn't do. We started buying anything we could buy. Prices were plummeting. It was 6 months to a year of just pure hell. But eventually the market started to stabilize, and we were sitting on properties. And we ended up working directly with asset managers to buy their short sales. And we got really, really good at it. So we ended up paying referrals to agents, 2% referrals just to get their listings. We would negotiate the short sell, buy it, and then sell it, which turned out to be amazing because when people started to buy, the margins got much bigger, right? So the banks are always 6 months to a year behind on values. So I ended up doing a lot of properties. I mean, we probably ended up buying 30 to 50 a year. So our real estate attorney at the time said, hey, you should get licensed for a couple of reasons. One, you're kind of playing a little bit too close in the real estate section, and 3, you're just leaving commissions on the table. So that was my role for 5 or 6 years. I owned a company in Arizona with a partner called Pinnacle Financial, and that got me into real estate. And then 11 years later, we wanted to kind of get back to Pittsburgh a little late. I had 2 kids, 2 dogs, 2 cats, and a whole bunch of shit. But there's something about Pittsburgh, and we always called it home. And so about 10 years ago, we moved back to Pittsburgh. I was technically not working because the short sale business was starting to decline in Arizona. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do here. So I ended up doing a lot of charity work locally with Make-A-Wish, still do it to this day. But then you got to start making money because, as you guys know, money runs out, especially when you're in real estate because you like fancy things.
Because you got expensive habits.
Yeah,
I like how you put it. I like fancy things. You buy a lot of shit.
Yeah, we totally do. For me, I'm a pretty laid back guy. I'm a t-shirt kind of guy, but you got to have a nice car. And I'm not sure if you guys have kids, but you talk about expenses. Holy, that's it right there.
Yeah.
I'm a new dad. I'm finding out rather quickly.
Yeah,
Diapers start adding up and all this other shit that I didn't even know people needed.
Well, you wait, man, because diapers, they're expensive, but so are chicken fingers and 3 orders of them. And, macaroni and
half of them don't get eaten, right?
Well, yeah, and then you get the dad bod, man. So beware.
Well, see, I don't know, for everybody who's watching on YouTube, shameless plug, you can tell that Santa's always in the background. That is the walking trash can of everything, that nothing gets wasted in our house. That's why he looks the way he looks. And the doctor keeps telling me he needs to lose a few pounds.
Well, he and I have a lot in common. If I was laying, I was thinking about taking this from the couch too. So, yeah.
When I think about people who've bought expensive shit, especially through this pandemic time, do you know what it is? It's Peloton bikes that have become clothes drying racks. That's what it is. It's now people just drape their clothes over them. They're like, well, they're getting some use out of it. For those that aren't watching on YouTube, he's now draping clothes on his Peloton bike in the back.
I took this off for the video. It's just a top, but
I love that. Yeah. So you had, just with regard to short sales and selling and through your finance stuff, 30 or 50 years, no joke. So like that scaled like hell, like very fast, right? And then now you've come back to Pittsburgh. So now you're getting into real estate locally again, right? Is that how that happened? Is that the next stage of your story?
It is. I mean, like we were talking about this stuff and we had to buy and, provide for a family. All joking aside, it's the best thing in the world to do for a career. I'm sitting here on a Tuesday, chat with you guys and just, I don't have to be anywhere as long as I plan accordingly. And if you run through walls for your clients, you're paid handsomely. So, jumped into real estate, got my license, was a little bit of a change from what I was used to because now I'm opening doors and putting people in my cars and, watching what I say and, because I'm with people. So it was a little bit of an adjustment, but, it was 10 years ago and it was the best thing I ever did. So got licensed here and the rest is history, I guess.
So walk us through your first few years then. So you've been doing it about a decade. Was year one, were you a home run type of guy? I don't know a football analogy, so I can't give you one. So we'll go for a baseball. Was it just like out of the park, 30, 50 deals in your first year? Walk us through first few years and then the last few years as well.
Well, most importantly, I should say I'm more of a baseball guy than a football guy. So you keep throwing those analogies, man. Yeah, too bad.
For anybody listening, we don't know shit about either. So you have to...
Although I do always remember the whole quote about being, an all-star because it's something you always hear in business. It's about the fact that Hall of Famers from baseball hit strikeouts 7 out of 10 times. So to be the best in the world in history, you've got to hit home runs, 3 out of 10 or whatever it is. And it's like, stop thinking you need to hit 10 out of 10. You don't. Yeah. You need to hit 3 out of 10 to be the best of all time. And it's like, so if you're hitting 2 out of 10, you're fucking good.
Well, it's funny you say that because, as you know, you guys know better than I do, and I'm learning. None of this is scripted. I have no idea what we're going to talk about, but it's a great analogy because I tell my team, you can't be perfect and you can't be doing a 10 out of 10 every single time. It's just simply impossible. So, discipline's a word we're trying to use a little bit more, and it's the little things that add up. Right. And an analogy, I'm going to start using that batting average analogy because I use this analogy, when we're younger and we're in high school, the bell rings, and your teacher is telling you got to go from class A to class B, and the next teacher knows you're not there. Well, real estate is like college. There's no bells, there's no teachers, there's no one telling you what to do. So if you don't do that small minutia every single day and have the discipline to do it, you just won't be, you won't chip away and you won't grind and you won't get that 300 or 400 average. So I like your analogy. I like that a lot.
There you go. I think that it is a famous one. I think it's when they talk about like Babe Ruth and all those guys. It's like Hall of Famer, I think you hit 3 out of 10 or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, everyone's like, you got to do 10 out of 10. It's like, listen, greatest of all fucking time was 3 out of 10.
If you literally have a 300 lifetime average, which is 30%, you will make it to the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Playing long enough. Simple as that. Yeah. So
love it. So first year, were you a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I was actually. And I think, a lot of us are wired differently, right? So, one of the tips, and this is not one of the tips I was going to talk about, and this is really hard to understand, is if you can work and not rely on the commission part, like you already won, right? So for me, I knew my time in Arizona short sales was going to an end because I still worked those short sales and asset management acquisitions here in Pittsburgh, but I knew it was ending, but I was still getting paid handsomely for a couple of years. So when I went into the real estate field in Pittsburgh, I didn't really need to sell anything. And this is the problem, I think. I was never commission hungry, and it just happens, right? And that's just life. So, and that's a tough tip because everyone, doesn't want to depend on a paycheck. So my first year here, where there was no expectations, I didn't need to make a certain amount of money. But yeah, I think my first year I did $10 million here for Pittsburgh standards at the time was very high.
Huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a good first year, definitely.
And your second year, do you know roughly?
Yeah. So I pretty much, roughly.
You're going to say doubled.
Yeah. It was probably in the 12 to 15 range. And then, just to kind of give the audience a little bit, not to bore them year after year, but yeah, it kind of worked its way up to about 27. But as you can imagine, when you start to run a team, my personal production goes back a little bit because I'm kind of handing stuff off. So never had a down year, if that's one of the questions.
One of the things that I think a lot of people miss, we were actually, so believe it or not, there was a trio. There was a third member of our company that doesn't join us on the shows because he sells over 1,300 homes a year, right? The reason I bring that up for context is like, of all our guests, you are definitely in the top tiny percentile with regards. You did 350 units. And we were literally on a call with him just prior to this. And we're like, yeah, we're speaking to Joe. He did 350. And even he was like, the dude's fucking hitting, man. Like, if you're doing that, he's hitting. And the reason I bring that up for everyone listening is 85 million sounds great. And it's like, wow. And I get it. I'm not trying to detract from it. But when you look at, say, the Canadian market, we were speaking with someone about our coaching yesterday. His average price point's 1.8, right? Which is insane. But your price point is tiny comparatively. So it's actually far more impressive when you think about it. To sell 350 homes in a year is far more impressive than 85 million because you know how much fucking work has gone in. Because if your price point was higher, it would be 300 million. It's you're able. You've got the systems in place. Units are about systems. Like volume is about price point. And the thing is all the top realtors, it's the units that's more impressive. Like you, it's like, okay, 85 million is cool. We've had people on who've done a lot less, who've done more than 85, but you've done 350, which means you've got your systems shit dialed it the fuck in. Like, you know how to get this stuff pushed through efficiently, which is what a lot of people, especially listening to our show, we know with absolute certainty they struggle with. It's like, how do you systemize 350 deals in a year? Like,
that's a deal a day, almost no days off, not accounting for weekends, which means you're doing multiple in a day.
So that's a loaded question. Now, give us a little tidbit there, and then we're going to dive into your first actual topic.
So I'm sitting here smiling, and I'm very proud of myself because I didn't interrupt you through that whole process. This was 100% a team effort, right? So at the time, the past 2 years, we had a 20-person team. So all those numbers that you just quoted are something I was a part of, but it was definitely a team effort. if you're looking for a personal stat, about, I would say 25 to 27 million and 80 plus units were mine out of those numbers. But to your point, we kind of have it figured out with stats and data and tracking and systems and processes, but I think we can get much, much better. It's one of those things where the past 2 years have just been insanely crazy with the pandemic and, basically holding us behind a cage and letting us go, So I think that's what actually helped guide us through that. Shooting out like a rocket is something, having some of those systems and processes in place. So I do agree. When you got that many people and that many transactions, I mean, there's a lot of things that can fall through the cracks. And for me, our people were the ones that kept it all together.
Here's some of the things that we've learned with all the interviews, us growing our business, everything we've done in the last 5-7 years ourselves. It's like systems build massive amounts of leverage, but there will become, because we are in a people business, unlike, let's say, a software company where you're in a technology business, that you have to get good at people management and empowering the people to kind of go off and do their own thing. And that is a whole fucking skill set. Like when people think that HR people just kind of hire and fire people and do fuck all and they're kind of sat in the corner, and then you realize that how hard recruiting quality talent is, making sure they feel ownership with what they're doing and going out there and crushing it, and being a part of a unit is so difficult. Like it's way, way harder than people give you credit for. We've spoken about this so many times, the difference between being a boss and being a leader, because everyone goes, oh yeah, just go and tell someone what to do. And it's like, yeah, how long do you think that fucking person's going to last? If you just go in every day and go, Joe, go make me a coffee. Like Joe's going to be there for about 10 days before he tells you to go fuck yourself and walks out the door.
Yeah.
It's, Joe's got to feel that kind of responsibility. And it's like, hey, I'm going to empower you with, this is how you sell a shitload of homes and how you can change your life. Go out and do it. And then also, one of the things that I think people misconstrue with like being bossy is actually accountability, right? Where it's like, I've asked you to do this because it's going to help you achieve your goal. I'm also going to hold you accountable to you doing this, because actually it's not for me, it's actually for you and what you're looking at to going to achieve. But without going into a whole separate topic, it's a whole other interview, Joe. You got so much you want to talk about. All your partners, like you said, if they're listening to this, that should be proud of you. But we want to dive into your first topic, which is building your business by referrals, and how you've got all your deals coming from those over the last, over a decade, but solid decade at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, right? Oh, work by referral. I know there's taglines. I know there's coaching that says all that. The challenge with that is it's not the short game, right? So, when you're looking at hitters and people that are, for lack of better words, just killers in the real estate, they want it now, right? So the challenge is it's definitely a long game. Life for me, I have two boys. They're 15 and almost 13. It's about relationships, work and personal and whatever. So, you got to invest in these people. And then when they know that you can actually do even half your job, or the knowledge that you know about real estate or a location, and then that you care, and that there's actually a personal connection, you'll never lose that person. For me, again, I went back to the earlier segment where I never felt like I needed a commission, so I never really counted those. Sure, I want to be number one. Sure, I want to have a good life and provide for my family. But for me, the number one goal has always been to kind of make them feel like they were my only client. And it's become difficult in the world we live in, with all the internet stuff. But if you can do that consistently, it's going to pay off in dividends years and years later. And that's really what happened, is the time that I've spent and invested in people, in the early years, the buyers buying a $200,000 home, and then they sell that 200 and go to 400. I mean, that's really where the snowball comes. So you got to think long game in that. And it's been very, very good for me. Almost 80% of my business is repeat referral. So
now, do you also like wine and dine your clients? Do you take them out? Do you do client parties? How do you stay in contact and in touch with them to make sure that you're top of mind?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, a disclaimer, I feel like I've gotten worse at this the more, the more I've got on my plate. So part of my focus for 2022 is to kind of go back to the basics and realize what got me here. Truthfully, yes. I mean, we've done the client parties, but again, with the last 2 years, that's kind of changed. We've got when Star Wars came out a couple years ago, we got a theater and invited our guests, the Christmas week, and so they're bringing their kids, right? My biggest tip that I can give anybody here is just invest in them, their kids, and their pets. And if you just remember their names. Hey, how's Susie doing? How did Billy do at his baseball tournament? How's Frankie the dog? Is he still loving that ice cream, dog shop ice cream? Those people just eat that up, right? So that would be the number one tip. But communication, just checking in with them. I've been fortunate enough to have a couple CFOs here in Pittsburgh with big companies, and I've seen their stock price double. Just a little text. Hey, I'm seeing the stock price has doubled. Nice job. Just happens to be with your whole tenure, that you've been there. Birthday cards, house anniversary cards, just stuff like that. But it's the actions, right? People are going to remember how you made them feel, not what you really did for them. And that's something they can't even define. And I know that's not even a clear answer, but you just got to care. You got to be there. You got to answer the phone. And sometimes you got to take the bad calls, and they're angry and they're upset and they're calling you, and they're not necessarily yelling at you. They're just kind of venting at you. So I can go on and on about that. So I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit right there, but we try to do it all.
So with the referral stuff, like we get this because there's a few, I guess we've got a few quotes, analogies within our organization, which is like real estate is a 10-year game. Like if you get into this industry and you ain't thinking 10 years, like you should probably just not get into this industry. And the reason is because over a decade, you start to see the fruition of compounding with decent relationships with clients, because by that point you've probably got at least 2 deals out of one client if they've just bought and sold through you, right? So like rather than say that lead, if you've paid for them, cost you $1,000 and you've got a 7K commission, well now you haven't had to pay for them the second time, so that $1,000 now got you a 20 grand in total. And the beauty of real estate, like you've said, oh well, now I just 80% referral. Well, at some point down the line, whether you paid for them, whether it was lunch dates out and then you got a referral from someone you did that to, or whether it was a paid ad, or whether it was Zillow or whatever it was, the nature of compounding with real estate is like the longer you're in it, the more money you can make. With the slight caveat, you've got to be decent at your fucking job, people. So if you're shit at your job, compounding doesn't work. People don't
nothing's going to save that.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if you're shit, no one's coming back.
Yeah,
no one's coming back.
Yeah, if you're a jerk, I don't care how good you are. I mean, bottom line is people want to work with people they like. It's as simple as that. And there's been many times where I found myself in areas of the city way north where, yeah, sure, I know where, the suburb is, but like, do I sell a lot there? No. And I would be very upfront with people. And they're like, hey, where's the nearest grocery store? I'm like, this is 10 years ago where Google is kind of just a thing. And I'm like trying to Google it without them seeing me. And I flat out just told them like, I don't know, this is not my area of expertise. And it didn't matter because they knew they could figure that out on their own, right? Everything's on the internet now. Our consumers are more knowledgeable than we are in most situations. We really are. We're here to advise and handhold a little bit and almost be a therapist, quite frankly, because all the information that we have, 90% of it is out there already. So,
yeah, I think as a real estate agent, one of the jobs that we have is we basically compile all the information, and we're like the walking, Google of a specific area.
Yeah.
But to your point, like I just had a recent experience where I'm working with a buyer, and this is like 3 hours away from me. And I'm like, hey, maybe it would be just better if I referred you to an agent that's local. And they're like, absolutely not. We want to work with you. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know the neighborhoods. I don't know the coffee shops. I feel like I'm sort of doing you a disservice because originally you started looking here and now you want to look over there. So maybe we should, she goes, nope, you're the only person that has helped me do X, Y, Z, ABC, educated me about credit and the buying process and all this other stuff. I'm like, okay, as long as you know that I'm not getting in the car to drive 3 hours to open a door for you one time because you think you may want this house. This is the way the process will have to work. Otherwise, I will have to refer you to somebody because I simply just can't do that. I have 2 kids and all this other stuff. So as much as I want to help, I also want to make sure that we're servicing the client. And Joe, you're absolutely right. It's okay for you to not know everything as long as you tell them, you communicate it, and it's not like an afterthought per se, right?
He didn't say what his second email was to them, which was, P.S. have you seen the fucking gas prices?
That's okay, because I drive electric.
Have you seen them? The house price, the commission's going to be 20K because the fuel 3 hours there and back is going to be 10 grand at least. They went, fair enough.
How big is his sale?
So this is going to be like a $300,000-$400,000 house if they can get qualified.
Okay. That's a couple ifs for a 3-hour drive, man. That's almost a plane ride, brother.
Yeah.
We haven't got to that. We haven't got to your level, Joe, the private jet level, your helicopter.
We've got you guys fooled big time.
So it's interesting that you say that. So what would you do in my situation? How would you, because I think this is very important for everybody listening, right? Like when you're starting out or you're a newer agent, you're willing to make those drives. You're willing to make things happen, right? Especially for me, like when I have clients coming in out of town in Southeast Florida, down here in Boca, like I will rearrange and move my schedule around because I know they're in here for a limited time. But this person is like flying to the other coast and absolutely insists that I'm there for them. And I know they'll buy with me, but like, how do you deal with a situation like that?
Well, I mean, with your location, it's a little bit easier, right? Cruising around, the mean streets of Boca Raton, 80 degrees and beautiful.
I know. I don't know if you can tell I'm a little sunburned. The sunburn being in Florida is not a good thing either.
I was going to say, Joe sounds almost a little bit bitter. Like he hates you a little bit more right now.
Well, let me give you some context. This weekend we were in Columbus, Ohio for my kiddos. We had our first baseball tournament. There was a blizzard on Saturday. Blizzard, literally snowed. We had to pull the kids off the field. The next day, it was 68 and sunny, and it was like we were in San Diego. So you just got to find out what.
I would say I can relate because I used to deal with that stuff when I lived in Philly, but it's been so long that I can't relate anymore because it's sunny every day.
Yeah. Well, every day in the spring here, I'm reminded that I did 11 years in Arizona. So I can feel your pain, which is no pain, by the way. So to answer your question, 3 hours, I mean, I'm almost in Philly, all joking aside, like not necessarily in Philly.
No, 3.5 hours from Pittsburgh to Philly. Yeah. Depending on how heavy your foot is, you can definitely make that happen. Always heavy.
Realtors are never on time. Yeah. So we're always making up time. I personally, and you've already said this and you stole the words right out of my mouth. It's all about servicing the client, right? So I've done it all. In my first couple of years, I would drive 3 hours for a $60,000 property because it was referred to me from a very good friend. I would do that. I think I'm at the point now in my life with my older kids and their balance, my work-life balance, which I know we're going to talk a little bit about. I don't think I could provide what I would deem good service to them. So I would, my network now with my brokership is amazing. We're a company, our corporate wide, nationwide company. So like we have really good connections in Philly and wherever. So I would find them a good partner and I would interview them. And a new revenue source for most of your listeners now and going forward is going to be referrals, networking through the country. A lot of people are not moving for work. They're moving from work. So a lot of people are able to go work home, where that might be Philly for you or Pittsburgh for me or wherever they're from, they can go back and still have that same job because things have changed. So just throwing that tip out there too. I think networking is going to be huge and I'm definitely going to connect with you guys and find out what areas you're working. And ideally somebody from Pittsburgh people are going to Florida, not usually the other way around. So
you've just confirmed my I don't know. I wouldn't want to say suspicion because I guess maybe that's the right word, but you just confirmed my suspicion that when we're treating this like a business, because I also have 2 kids, right? So meaning if I have to drive 3 hours, I'm getting up at like 4 or 5 a.m., not seeing my kids in the morning, getting over there, fumble fucking my way through figuring out the area and what's a good spot, what's a bad spot, spending my whole day there. And I'm probably getting back after they go to bed, which means that I just lost the whole day, right?
Yeah.
So,
and how old are your kids?
Go ahead.
How old are your kids?
So one of them is just turning 2, and I have a newborn as of 10 weeks ago or 11 weeks ago.
Oh man, I'll tell you, 15 and 12-year-old here. There's a thing that's, you see the same videos pop up on social, and you just kind of like finally watch them, because you see them over and over, you just scroll past them. And there's one about kids between 2 and 4, and that's just it's just a special, special age, and it really, really is. So take it from me, who's a little bit further ahead in life. 3-hour drive there, hour showing, maybe an hour talking afterwards, another 3. You just lost a day with those kids. So I think we lose track of why we're doing all this. I do this for the lifestyle, and I'm not talking about your private jets that you guys are referring to. I had every nice car you can think of. I drive a Jeep Wrangler right now. And it's just about being happy, and you're going to miss little moments. And that's the day that maybe one of them walk. And I'm not trying to get all sentimental here, but I get going for the client, but your first client is your family. So just keep that in mind. That's all.
I love that.
It's got to make those tough choices.
And whilst you're pulling on Peter's heartstrings,
yeah, you got to buy shit for him too. So, $10,000 commission doesn't hurt, so I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, Peter, go get the 10K. Oh, and by the way, would you consider yourself a maverick? Are you an agent, team leader, broker owner who's constantly striving, pushing boundaries and smashing goals? Well, we've already helped over 100 agents cross $100,000 and up in GCI per year. So if you're interested in learning more about our courses and coaching to help you scale your business, then head over to go.eliteagentsecrets.com.